We have a few more stragglers, but we'll go ahead and start. So welcome, everyone, to the Marin Poetry Center. We are very excited to have two California poets. They're not from California, but we consider them ours now. And before we get started, I want to make just a few announcements about some upcoming events. There is going to be a reading next Wednesday night, which will be at the Rebound Bookstore. And it's being given by two of our long-term members, and one of them is our board member. Laurel Feigenbaum is here, and she'll be reading with Ann Robinson. And Rebound Books is a really wonderful bookstore. It does a lot to support us and poetry, and it's a great place to buy books and to go to readings. And they have an open mic after. The reading starts at 6:30. And we have only two more readings after this, and then our season is going to close. And so I wanted to just remind you that next month we'll have, on the 16th, we'll welcome Hannah Bloch and Maria Hummel. And then on May 21st, our last reading is also going to include a little party beforehand. It will start at 6, and it's where we welcome in our new poet laureate, who I believe maybe we could give her a little round of applause, Parta Sereno. And so at 6, we'll have cake and champagne. And then at 7:30, Richard Newman and Lee Rossi will be reading for us. And also, the day after that reading, we're going to have a workshop. It's the first time as events person that I'm going to be running a workshop. I won't be teaching it. So Richard Newman's going to teach it. And Richard is a wonderful poet. He's also a playwright and a musician. And he's the editor of River Styx magazine, which I know some of us in the room have been published in. He's also hilariously funny. And he's going to give a workshop Friday. I think it'll be from 10 to 1, and then we're going to share lunch with him. And does anyone else have any announcements that they want to make? No? Okay.
Cell phones.
Oh, turn off your cell phones, please. Put them in cine mode, and you'll get a prize. So we're going to read in alphabetical order, which means Dan Bellm is going to go first. He's been either blessed or cursed with the name Bellm, depending on your perspective. So Dan is a poet and translator, and he lives in Berkeley. The most recent of his 3 books of poetry, called Practice, won the 2009 California Book Award. He's received fellowships from the National Endowment for the Arts and the California Arts Council. He translates poetry and fiction from Spanish and French, and he teaches literary translation in the MFA in Creative Writing program at Antioch University in Los Angeles. Please welcome Dan Bellm.
Please watch your step, it says. Okay, I'm gonna... Or does that have to do with my poetry? Watch yourself, buddy. Okay. Hello, good to be back here. Roy and I were trying to figure out before the reading how long it's been, and it's been 4 years when we thought it was 2. No, I got it now.
Could you use the mic, please?
Is it not on? Okay. Is this better? All right, yeah. So I'm going to read tonight from a long poem. I'm not going to read the entire thing, but a good part of it. It's the title sequence of my next book, if and when it ever finds the light of day, in case there are any poetry publishers in the room. But it's called Deep Well, and I wrote it in the couple of years after my mother died. The entire thing is in these 3-line syllabic stanzas. Other than that, it's not obsessive at all. The pattern helped, the form helped me. And as I was writing this, I was also translating poems that felt related. So there are some translations mixed in with my own. my own pieces here. So, Deep Well. It begins in an Alzheimer's ward in a small town in Illinois. In the ward, keeping watch at your side as you would do, eyes half closing, 3 a.m., though there will be no sleep. In the corridor, Grace is out walking, can't find her room again, lost in her eternity. Surely this will be the final night, or surely not, 5 of them since you last opened your eyes onto this world and sat up, ate something sweet. The soul is said to wander in the night. Whether to return at dawn, who is to know? And of a sudden you come again from the far past at an open door. I must be 7 or so, standing barefoot in faint lamplight in my pajamas and Dad's heavy overcoat to go sleepwalking in the falling snow. And your calm hand is resting on my shoulder, so I wake. Psalm 61. How can this thin hand still be carrying its life, still answer a grasp with its own? Only a little while we go on breathing together. Listen, from the end of the earth I cry to you as my heart fails me. We have closed our eyes, overhearing visitors in the hall who've come for Mother's Day. Next door, Iona asks her son, a farmer, "Has Dad ever come back from being dead?" "Why, no," he says. "I've sure kept him in my heart, as I know you do, and I've dreamed about him many times, but as far as coming back, being any help to me with the haying or pulling the weeds, no, he hasn't done that." She asks, "Have you ever been to eternal life?" "Oh, I've been there and back. I'm going to heaven, but I'm in hell right now." Big laugh. Someone paces and sobs. Another confides in a loud whisper, "They're letting me die." Someone is singing. Last bed. A shallow breath, then a pause that might be the end, then a shallower one, a slight choking clearing of the last of the life caught in her throat, a low sigh, faintest wisp of an exhalation set free. That was all. And already as we stroked her hands, her cold brow, in the suddenly brief minutes we were granted of farewell before the white sheet lowered over her and she was wheeled away into the busyness of death through an unmarked door, had her spirit fled? Or was she now going to be wherever we are? Sitting on the edge of her last bed, I closed my eyes as if to come again into my first room in our long-lost house, as if to know, as before, that she was near, would come if I called. This is a little poem by Pierre Reverdy called An Instant. Un seul moment. A breath of wind from beneath the west, hints of it coming from farther away. All those who are dying in the distance at the same moment, and all those who weep. Voices pass like the wind. We look without seeing what's before us. The air itself turning black. No more than a flicker of light in the sky, an answering flame. And the look in your eyes, and the lamp, and the evening that someone will come along later to put out. Awake. That's 2 words. Awake. As if you are to be a saint for us now and receive our prayer. As if set behind a pane of glass like an icon in a darkened church to be worn away slowly by the pressure of our breath, you lie down recomposed into heaven, into stilled life, dressed in heaven's blue. Origin of birth made to embody death's own evidence, a place of unreturning, reachable only by way of devotion. So near, as far from us as you will ever be, yet know, at the closing of death's door, I see this is not you, that though I will fear death, I must not believe in it. She waits. Looked for her in the unseen, in the play of air against the edge of what appeared to be. A child's laugh in a neighbor yard could recall her, only to call her back into what had passed. Sought her in dreams, but she waited at one side in the not to be dreamed of yet, neither asking for hope nor giving it, not saying yes or no. Tried to step out of the way as she taught to see if that would make it simpler to be found. Felt she wanted to be held, even hold on to the child she'd made, but she wouldn't say. Was it more blessed not to be anyone? Was that the problem now? Was she deciding? Tried praying her across then, but could not, for she kept remaining in the light she had brought to the world. Hands. Another morning of waking, wanting her, of wishing a presence already given to stay more near. And what was this bright and cloudless summer Sunday sky but a masking over of trouble again, too wishful, the wrong gift? Had thought the time was supposed to be spreading in any direction it chose to now, not snapping itself back to a forward motion of moments to regain a shape. Some people, she would say, have too much time on their hands, and just look at them, how hands can be weighted down with it. Would have advised busying them at something as a way to go on stilling the disquiet of the generations, but her voice had changed now. She was letting her child fold his hands and weep. This is by Federico Garcia Lorca. It's called Foolish Song. Canción tonta. Mama, I wish I were made of silver. Child, you would be very cold. Mama, I want to be made of water. Oh, child, you'd get very cold. Mama, embroider me on your pillow. Yes, I will do that right now. Enter in. In the evening, a massive rain and thunderstorm arrives and passes too soon. Could hardly stand at the open screen door long enough to breathe it, let it heal or hurt. Then will what is loved and what is unfinished stay just as they are? Sadness of doorways, times when, visiting home, the unsaid remained so, though it wanted to enter in and found no way. Wish. Wanting to let her soul rise, wanting to draw her back, see her again. What? To be some kind of songbird and come begging at my feet? Or just to stroke her fine hair, its one streak of white, slowly ease her eyes open? Caught again, wishing for her sake that she'd had more, what? Freedom to express herself? So foolish. Express herself, freedom, for her sake. So little, after all, ever known of her or understood. She completed her time and could not stay, but for this blessing of kindness. Heaven. After a long time of asking, or because I had stopped asking, my mother was there. A mother from a healthier time, though already in the dementia. She lay her head across my chest to comfort me that my mother was dead. She asked if my mother was in heaven. We shrugged with a smile of not knowing. I think so. I said, I think that's what happens. I took out a notebook to write it down, to keep it. I don't believe in heaven. It made her curious. She was at my shoulder, looking down at the paper. Will you watch me so I tell the truth? But there was only the palest of smiles now, into which she disappeared. Twilight. After the men had eaten, as always, very fast and gone, I thought of them that way, my father and brother, the men. not counting myself as of their kind. The time became our own for talks, for confidences. I was one of her, though I could never be, a deserter in an open field between two camps. Even my high school said on its billboard, "Give us a boy and get back a man," a wager that allowed for no exceptions, like an article of war. Gay child, years away from that lonely evening of coming out to her at last, of telling her what she knew already and had waited for, I'd sit in the kitchen with her after clearing the meal away, our hands all but touching, letting a little peace fall around us for the evening, coffee steaming in 2 cups, and try at ways of being grown, with her as witness, telling the truth as I could. Which is how one night that room became a minor, historically unrecorded battleground of the Vietnam War. I think she knew before it began how she'd be left standing in the middle with her improvised white flag, mother, peacemaker, when I said I refused to go. Never mind how, I'd thought her very presence, her mysterious calm, would neutralize any opposing force, draft board, father. It's not, we know, how that war came to pass. For years I'd still call her at that hour, the work done and the darkness coming on, even all those years when Dad was the one who'd come to the phone first and then not speak to me. Twilight times with her, when a secret, or what I thought was one, would fall away beneath her patient regard, though I would never manage to heal her hurts the way she tended mine. Those crossings over to evening when the in-between of every kind seemed possible and doubt came clear because she heard and understood and did not turn away. Sabbath. Then will I carry you within me for as long as I can. Not a consolation, but a promise, and not because I must. Not as you carried me, but to be your keeper, a place where you remain the one bearing life. Not as a god or idol that I have made too small, but only blessing you do I keep the blessing safe. Infant image of the created one I long to be. Sabbath self concealed in the guise of ordinary time. My life, the covering that protects the vow. This is a poem by Julio Cortázar, the Argentine writer, called Summation in Autumn. In the vault of the evening, every bird is a point of memory. It's surprising how the fervor of time comes back without a body or for no reason. That beauty, so brief in its violent love, saves one echo for us in the falling of night. So what is there to do but stand still, letting your arms go slack, your heart in a heap, with that taste of dust that was a rose or a path? Flight surpasses the wing. To know not at all humbly that what is left was gained in the dark by means of silence, that the branch in your hand and the dark tears are your inheritance, the man with his history, the lamp lighting the way. And this is by Pablo Neruda. To the foot from its child. I was just in Chile a couple of weeks ago, and I visited his house by the ocean called Isla Negra, an incredible, incredible place. Neruda is how I first started learning Spanish 40 years ago, and before I had any business knowing better, I was quibbling with the translations before I was halfway through the book, figuring out how hard could this be to do better than this. So, 40 years later, to the foot from its child. The child's foot doesn't yet know that it's a foot. It would like to be a butterfly or an apple. But along come stones and bits of glass, streets and stairways, roads of hard-packed earth to show the foot that it can't fly, can't be a rounded fruit on the branch of a tree. Which is how the foot came to be defeated, a prisoner fallen in battle, condemned to live inside a shoe. Slowly, slowly, it got to know the world in its own way, without light, without ever meeting the other foot, closed in, exploring life like someone blind. Those soft nails of quartz, of clusters of grapes, became hardened and turned opaque, as tough as horns, and the little petals of the child's toes were crushed together and thrown off balance, took the shape of eyeless reptiles, the three-sided heads of worms, calloused and covered over with tiny volcanoes of death, unacceptably hard. But this blind one kept on walking without rest, hour by hour, one foot then the other, now a man's foot, now a woman's, up and down, across the fields, into mines and markets and ministries, backwards, forwards, in and out, this foot worked in its shoe, scarcely having time to be naked in love or sleep. It walked, they walked, until the whole person came to a stop. It descended then into the earth and knew nothing about it, because everything there was dark. Stayed unaware that it had even ceased to be a foot, or whether they were burying it so that it could fly now, or so that it could turn into an apple. And here's the last part, the title section, called Deep Well. She gave me language and wanted nothing at all in return for it. What could I give her? Even after she had stopped speaking, I couldn't give it back. Letters of the alphabet falling like ash and settling in our hair, on our shoulders, every word that would never be said now. She wanted only what she had already and less of that, so that when I want nothing, when I managed to delude myself that I could relinquish it all this very moment, I suppose it's what I have from her as gift. What? To join her in death? Unconditional love, the dark side? Things began disappearing years ago, the contents of childhoods shaken out of boxes and given away. She knew we didn't need them, so she didn't ask, until by the end, even her travel diary was sucked into the pool of unremembering and lost. One day it was gone from its shelf. She would or could not say where. That precious dog-eared spiral stenographer's pad she had carried through every state but one for a span of 40 years. Nothing was precious. And one day it was her wedding ring's turn to go, speaking of years. What was that moment like? Of casting it away if there was a moment. Unsentimental to a fault, or wary of sentiment, when the plainest moment of tenderness so easily made tears well up, I'd want to uncause them. It's true. I thought of her as a deep well, never to be seen into. She kept our secrets for us as she kept her own. She preferred to be all right. When I happened to mention, sitting by Dad's bedside at the hospice at the very end, that my wristwatch was broken and I'd need another, she reached over without a thought, pulled the Timex off his arm as he lay there in his coma and handed it to me, saying, "Here, Dad's not going to need this one anymore." The way that in her dementia, in her travel outside the mind, she reached a positive regard for every moment that seemed like grace, a grace she'd always had, and more so now, entering any room for the 1,000th time, saying, "This is so pretty in here," eating her simple boiled or microwaved plate of lunch and pronouncing, like God at the end of another day's creation, "This is really good," until saying even that was not needed, leaving the world at peace, holding on to nothing. She's the one, you could say, who trained me to love books more than I loved people. They were more durably kind, staying the same or changing over time as they chose to, privately, in my head. The one perfect way I found not to be here but without going, which was a kind of salvation after all. You could say she threw out everything, and at last herself. Still, I'm left with this, less complete than it used to be, but holding up bravely one life to another in its battered tin box, a set of wooden letters of the alphabet that she saved for me. Thank you.
Okay, next we're going to welcome Robert Sward. And Robert has taught at Cornell University, the Iowa Writers Workshop, and UC Santa Cruz. He's a Guggenheim Fellow, and he was chosen by Lucille Clifton to receive a Villa Montalvo Literary Arts Award. His more than a staggering 20 books, I won't list them all, include 4 Incarnations, The Collected Poems, and God is in the Cracks, which is now in its 2nd printing. His latest book is New and Selected Poems, 1957 to 2011. He was born and raised in Chicago, and he served in the U.S. Navy in the combat zone during the Korean War, and later worked for CBC Radio and as book reviewer and feature writer for the Toronto Star and Globe and Mail while living in Canada. He lives now in Santa Cruz with his wife, who's a visual artist, Gloria K. Alford. Please welcome Robert Sward. I think you're not as tall as Dan, but taller than I am.
All right. Can you hear me okay? I'll use the microphone. Speak up a little. Thanks, I will. Just raise your hand if you have any trouble hearing. It was a brilliant reading by Dan. I'm doubly appreciative of the craft and of the heartfulness. And it's pure coincidence, but I'm going to read, to start off tonight, a poem called Love Has Made Grief Absurd. Love Has Made Grief Absurd. It began as a work in progress that was called Alzheimer's or Not. She's Still My Muse. But that seemed too wrought. In 2008, the summer of 2008, my wife and I took a brain fitness class at a local elementary school, and felt a little smarter as a result of doing it. This was in summer of 2008, and then in October of 2008, she was in a car accident, and things were shaken up, and we felt obliged to see a neurologist, and the neurologist surprised us by saying that, she's early stages of Alzheimer's. So I've never read this aloud to a group of people before. This is a trial, and I've been working on it for a couple of years, and it's entirely in the voice of Gloria. It's all her voice. It's a monologue, except it runs about 50 pages, and but I'm not going to read it that fully. I have a little note that precedes it. It says, "Love Has Made Grief Absurd" is a book-length love story, a monologue in the voice of a noted San Francisco Bay Area artist in her 80s as she struggles with Alzheimer's. Diagnosed in 2008, the narrator is smart, resilient, and gifted, but in denial about her condition. Passionate about art, friends, family, coping as best she can with a progressive disease, gradual loss of her faculties, and indeed the loss of herself, she continues to live her life and create art. A friend writes, "You may feel you can't see too far ahead because you are clearly living this while you write it. I have the same problem with my piano memoir. Sometimes life has to write the next page." I'm just going to go right into it and just read a few pages, sampling, and see what the thing sounds like. And as I say, it's a monologue, basically, in her voice. I've read it to her. I've read it to her family. And, I feel I have permission to proceed. Love Has Made Grief Absurd. Gloria in Excelsis. Did I say that? Did you write that down? First section is called Compatibility Plus. So tell me, how did we meet? Through the computer dating service, Compatibility Plus, am I right? I even remember what I paid for you, $250. I bargained with the guy. I got you for half price. A man with 4 ex-wives, 5 children, and that missing tooth, I remembered, and a 10-year-old green Volvo. We met March 4th, 1987. I remember the questionnaire. You were 53, 6'1", body build average. That's what you said. Religion, Jewish. Annual income, under 50,000. Tobacco use, non-smoker. Political orientation, liberal. Relationship desire, committed 1-to-1. That's what you said. And you promised, you gave me your word. You said you'd lose some weight. There's nothing worse than a tall, skinny guy with a pot. Anyway, how come I'm losing weight and you're getting a pot? Are you still teaching? Were you a professor? How long have we been together? 27 years, am I right? Most people don't last that long. I think it's wonderful. And what'd you pay for me? I feel nourished by you. You know, I feel good. I'm feeling absolutely normal. I feel happy. I'm Gloria. Yes, I'm Gloria. A little worn out, but still Gloria. I feel nourished by you. You know, I feel good. It's, let's see, a little worn out, but still Gloria. It's because of my father. Dad was always saying, I'm the luckiest man in the world. And I got that. I got that from him. I'm the luckiest person in the world. And you're lucky to be with me. You bastard. You just walk right by while I was talking to you. You walk right by me without kissing me. It's over. I think it's over. I feel the chill. You go to the yoga retreat, don't bother coming back. Go to hell, and I mean it. You know, don't you, every time I get annoyed, I get unannoyed. I get unannoyed because I forgot why I got annoyed. Do we have a dog? Well, I'm sorry, I don't know. I don't know what's her name. If I could just get out, drive somewhere, I feel trapped. Oh, hello, hello, little doll, little sweetie. She's looking up at you. Look at that face. What a doll. The next section's called Luckiest Person in the World. Are you worried about me? Are you worried about my brain? Well, I am. I am too. If I were to rate the quality of my life now, it would be a C-. It's been a miserable day. I want my fucking car back. And where are my credit cards? Did you take them? I hate it that I can't remember. I'm the luckiest unhappy person in the world. Is this my real life? My consciousness, is this my real life? My unconscious is asking that. What's the answer? What's the answer? Is this my real life? It's not the one I'd like to have, but it's the life I've got. The best part of my life is that you're here. You exist. I didn't make you up. I guess you're real. All I ask is that you be HHH, happy, healthy, and here. Are you my husband? I should know this. I asked you this before. Are you my partner? That's why you're in bed with me. How do you introduce me? As my partner or as my wife? If I could take a pill and just be done with it, I'd do it. I'm in pain. I can't even make coffee for myself. It's a quality of life thing. Understand? I'm dependent on you for everything. Baby, dearest, I love you, Cosette. You know, it's not my kids or you I'd stay around for. It's a dog. I really love that dog. How long are you going to leave her out there? You ever going to let her in again? Well, I want her. I want her in my lap. I used to paint all the time. My energy isn't the same as I get older. I'm not the same person I was. Maybe I just got tired. There's just one thing I enjoy now as much as I ever enjoyed it. Now, as much as ever. Coffee. It's true. Coffee's my best friend. More than 70 years, more than 80. Coffee stood by me. You're pushing 100, and I'm pushing 100. I'm ahead of you. I'm pushing harder than you're pushing. We're like those people, what do they call them? We're the new full of years people. Or is that just something they say about really old people? What pisses me is that you can live to be 100 and you think there'd be a single day, a couple hours even, a single moment when there wasn't a war going on. somewhere in the world. I'm thinking of all the W's, WW1, WW2, WW3, and all those little forgotten, mostly, but not exactly wars, like that one you dropped out of school for, that you joined the Navy for, volunteered for, got a medal for. Must have seemed like a good idea at the time. There's a section called A New Now. You should know this. What's his name? He's the one walked into the world down there. Singer, songwriter, dropped into Hades to bring her back. What's his name? The father of poetry. He was the first, made up songs and sang them. At the same time, he danced into the underworld. Orpheus. That's his name. Swear it, you're going to do an Orpheus. You're going to come and get me. I'm 86. You're not even 80. I can't remember all the things I've forgotten. You're, what do they call him, a trophy husband. This is my house. I live here. I'm not just anywhere. I want it to go on forever. You know, there is no end. If there were an end, that would be the end. I'm just glad to be here. And then she goes on, see, another section or two. This one's called Compatibility Plus. She says, are you famous? No. Well, why not? Are you almost famous? You're not even in the ballpark, are you? Truth is, I only think I've heard of you. The truth, when we met, was it me or the house you liked most? Or that I was so pretty? Was it love? Love at first sight? You think it worked out? I'm smiling because I got what I wanted. A brilliant Jewish man, and I didn't have to settle. It's a miracle, just a miracle I met you at all. Otherwise, I would have just gone on looking. And you're going to go to work. Work? So go worry. Get going right now. That's right, get going and get famous. Yes, it is. That's what I want. Do you even have an ounce of sentimentality in you? I haven't noticed any. It's not necessarily a bad thing or a good thing. How much do you love me on a scale of 1 to 10? 10? I'm sorry, you're not even thinking. The correct answer is 11. And then there's a section called FaceTime. Hello, are you in Portland? I have such a bad memory, I can't remember. Have I ever visited you in Portland? Do any of your children look like me? How old are you, darling? Were you my first baby? You're my baby, right? No? Well, then which are you? How rich we are in books. What did Dad do for a living? He was a professor. It's the most natural thing in the world to be married to a professor. Your computer doesn't care what you're typing, does it? You can say anything, but so what? You're just talking to yourself, am I right? And as I say, I've never read this before out loud like this, so it's an interesting experience. And then it goes on 50 pages, but I'm just going to read maybe two more pages. This section is called A New Now. A New Now. And she's very much in the moment. I mean, I've got the moment, whatever is happening, she's in the moment. A New Now. What's his name? David Knopfler. After the concert, he told me he really liked your poems. He said so, and you signed a book for him. This is my wife, Gloria, you said. I told him I have a problem with my remember. I told him I can't not usually remember the present. He's a sweetheart. Knopfler just laughed. And I can't remember what happened in the past, he said. I'm feeling absolutely normal. I feel happy. I don't have problems sleeping. I'm trying to lose weight. These are our good years. We have everything going for us. We're not tied down. We can afford to travel. I like to do a little more work in the garden. I'd rather be a giver than a taker. It's time for us to give, to make a contribution. We're both in who's who. I want to tell you I'm very happy with you. Let's watch Comedy Central. Sit here, take my hand. It's just another ad, blah, blah. What does that mean? The disease is progressive and ends in death. What is Alzheimer's? Tell me, how does losing your memory cause death? But look at this. The Times says people's memories are the fuel they burn to stay alive. Truth is, I'm running on empty. No more memories, no more life. Don't just sit there. Do something, damn you. Do something. Is it true people who have dementia, their brains end up having holes in them? Holes doctors can see? We are our memories. Some say we are our brains. Alzheimer's people, their brains are broken. Oprah says so. Is it your brain that's broken, or is it my brain? Something's wrong with my remember. Something's wrong with your remember. So tell me, where are the hard-ons of the 1960s, the 70s, the 80s? Where'd they go? Where'd they all go? Ah, I just found it. There it is. Okay, I'll leave that. But so how much more time do I have?
I have to, but I didn't look at when you started, and I'm so enthralled I have no idea.
Okay,
how
all
much
right.
time you have left. It's 8:20. What do you think, Roy? 10 more minutes?
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah, 10 more minutes.
I'm sorry, I'm not a very strict timekeeper.
Yeah.
All in the now.
Right. Well, I'm going to see if I can remember this. It's at the University of Iowa. I've been in the Navy. I came out. I grew up in Chicago. My dad was a podiatrist, a Rosicrucian, Orthodox Jew, and I was, from nowhere. And suddenly I'm in Iowa, and there are all these poets. Everybody's scribbling. And they're all top of their high school class poets. And I'm wondering exactly what am I doing there? And I look around one day, and as I say, I'm going to try to remember this thing. I'm not sure if I can just get the beginning of it. What a strange happiness. 60 poets have gone off drunken, weeping into the hills, I among them. There's no one of us who is not a fool. Someone scribbles 6 lines and says them. What a strange happiness. And how do I
Could you speak into the microphone a little more?
Yeah. I think I could say that one again if you would like. Yeah. So it's just walking along the Iowa River, wondering exactly what I'm doing there, out of the Navy. Just what is this all about? And somehow I got a scholarship to go there. So I scribbled just six or so lines. What a strange happiness. 60 poets have gone off drunken, weeping into the hills, I among them. There's no one of us who is not a fool. What is to be found there? What is the point in this? Someone scribbles 6 lines and says them. What a strange happiness. You're caught unawares. A lot of what I've been writing lately is in voices. I'm not writing a lot in my own voice, and I hear these voices. The voices is the muse, and my father, as I say, was a podiatrist in Chicago, and a Rosicrucian. So it was intriguing. This combination of feet on the ground and head in the clouds, and tried to make a practice. And he was from Eastern Europe, and he was the only person in the family who'd been to college. He'd been into podiatry school, and that's where I was supposed to go. It's funny, after I read poetry about my dad, the podiatrist, there's always 1 or 2 people in the audience who come up and ask questions about their feet. So this one is, again, with my dad speaking. It's called One Stop Foot Shop. And I sit in his podiatry chair, and he's doing arch supports for me, or whatever it is. Whatever was wrong with me, the foot seemed to be the source of it. And then he says things like, we walk with angels, and they are our feet. Vibrating energy packets, he calls them, bundles of soul, S-O-U-L, bundles of soul in a world of meat. Early warning system, dry skin and brittle nails, feelings of numbness and cold. These are symptoms. They mean something. I see things physicians miss. And you, all you have to do is open your eyes. Just open your eyes and you'll see. 7/8 of everything is invisible. A spirit inside the spirit. The soul, S-O-U-L, the soul is rooted in the foot. As your friend Bly says, the soul longs to go down. Feet know the way to the other world, that world where people are awake. So do me a favor, dream me no dreams. A dreamer is someone who's asleep. You know, the material world is infinite, but boring infinite, he says, cigarette in hand, little wings fluttering at his ankles. And women, he says, smacking his head, 4 times as many foot problems as men. High heels are the culprit. I may be a podiatrist, but I know what I'm about. Feet. Feet don't lie. Don't cheat. Don't kiss ass. Truth is, people's feet are too good for them. Is that better? Sound? This one is called In a World of No. And the speaker in this case is a dog. And the dog's name is Shelby. And it starts with an epigraph. I guess you have to accept the idea that the dog reads poetry and Kafka. And so the dog quotes, all that I cared for was the race of dogs, that and nothing else. To whom but dogs can one appeal in the wide and empty world? That's from Franz Kafka. So the dog goes on to say, in a world of no, dogs are a yes. 68 million dogs in America, and they understand there's a fundamental human reaction to everything, and it's no, no. Urgh. Dogs hate hearing shit like that. People, it's all no and no and no. They look at a dog sometimes, and the dog is on its back, say, on someone's lawn, legs in the air, rolling and bouncing. This is the hand I was dealt. I'm a dog, says the dog. It's not a problem, but people, look at me, God damn it. I don't have time for this, you're thinking? Something better is going to come later? No, it won't. As Ram Dass says, this is all there is. This is all you get. All knowledge, the totality of all questions and answers is contained in the dog. You know who said that? Kafka. That's right, Kafka. Bow wow, bow wow, bow wow, bow wow, now. And just for fun, the last poem I want to read, it's called The Astronomer, A Universe for Beginners. And there's something called the Urban Dictionary, which some of you probably know about, which is slang and street talk, and I've learned a lot from Urban Dictionary. I'm hanging out with a lot more than with Webster, actually. So in Urban Dictionary, there's a definition of math teacher. The definition is sexual position when you are doing your partner and you yell out math problems like, what is the square root of 4? And what is 5 plus 5? You fuck him or her harder and harder and try to get him to get these simple problems wrong. So Celeste is the name of the astronomer, and she's giving a class. It's a lecture. My qualifications are I minored in astronomy something like 50 years ago. So the professor says, all galaxies in observable space recede from ours at the speed of light. Navy vet undergrad, I follow, taking notes. I'm with her, the astronomer. What's the square root of 4, she asks, all aglow. Straddling me in the morning light, I'm imagining milky white and pinkish blue, continuous creation out of nothing, from nothing, nowhere. She looks around the lecture hall, points at me. What are we here for? I don't know, I say, flustered. I mean, in the beginning there was nowhere, she said. It all began with a ball of gas vibrating and a great roaring. I scribble. The entire observable universe would have been about the size of a grain of sand. Jesus, I'm thinking, now that's the way to begin a story. But there are complications. Our universe should be slowing down, she says. Instead, it's speeding up, and galaxies are being forced further and further apart, stretching the very fabric of space. Now she's writing me, harder, harder. The energy for that has to come from somewhere. Dark, we call it. Dark as an unknown. Dark, the dark forever. Oh, Celeste, oh.